You guys are earlier than me. That is great. No, I'm sad that I couldn't see you guys in person today, but I'm excited to have Esco, who's going to be going over the music industry. So I'm going to let him take over, and I'm going to be taking notes too.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's a pleasure to be here with you guys today. My name is Esco. Before we get started, I just want to say a couple things. First and foremost, if you have any questions, please stop me at any point. If you don't understand something, if there's terminology that you're not clear on, there are no silly questions. And the reason I'm here is to help explain and to help you guys understand. So if you want to say, hey, can you slow down, or can you clarify this, or I didn't catch that, can you repeat that, or can you go back to this? Just so you guys know, these slides will be shared with you guys, and all the resources will be shared with you guys as well. But I would encourage you guys to take notes along with it, because it'll help you, absorb everything that we're going to talk about today. So yeah, welcome. I'm going to just share my screen so I can show you guys what's going on. I might turn my video off just because here in the in-person setup, we have a TV. So I'm going to be standing off to the side a lot explaining, but I'll leave my audio on so you guys can hear me. And if you guys have a question, just like unmute yourself and just give me a shout, because I won't really be looking at the screen too much, okay? So let's start over here. So, all right. Before we start, I think we should do like a quick little intro. So I can start first. I'll just tell you guys a little bit about myself. So my name is Esco. I'm an independent artist. I work mostly in the Latin genre, here based in Toronto. And I've been, making music, recording and releasing music for the last about like 3-4 years, developing my artist project. I have also been learning, the process of becoming an independent artist, becoming self-sufficient, and like doing things yourself. So I really try to take a DIY approach, and that's kind of my philosophy and what I want to show you guys today. So I have some experience teaching, a similar course to this, like this type of material I've covered for the past like 2 years or so. So I'm not a pro by any means, I still learn every day, but I'm here to help you guys out, and I'm really excited for that. So yeah, if anyone wants to unmute, I'll just go by order here. Aurora, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey Esco, hey everybody. My name is Aurora. Thanks so much for this workshop today. I'm here. I'm a singer and rapper coming from Toronto as well, and just looking forward to learning a lot today.
Awesome, great. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you being here. Next we'll have Zach.
Hey, I'm Zach, also a rapper, Toronto. Let's get it. The 6, that's how we do it. Yeah, baby. And yeah, no, it's just good to be here. Good to listen in.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming through. And then we'll go with Tasia. Oh wait, that's you. My bad. I just saw the picture. There, and I was like, oh, like who's that?
Wait, let Tasia do her thing.
All right,
Let Tasia do her
so my
thing.
name is Tasia. I don't know if there's any extra feedback because our laptops are so close. But my name is Tasia, otherwise known as Coach Millie. I am a coach, a social impact strategist, grant writer, paint power lead. I'm excited for this workshop.
Amazing. Okay, and then we'll have Luam. Am I pronouncing it right? Luam, are you there? I think you're muted. If you're talking right now, you're muted. Okay, they might not be at their machine right now, but that's all good. So yeah, we're gonna learn a little bit more about each other as we go on with it. So just for intro, so this is gonna be we're calling it the DIY Music Artist Toolkit. It's gonna be a comprehensive workshop designed to empower independent artists with the knowledge, skills, and resources needed to manage your careers effectively and learn how to take control of your music distribution, understand royalties, and develop your artist identity. So those are the three main things we're going to be covering today. And we're going to go more in depth in the second session. So this interactive session will provide you with some practical tools and strategies that you can implement immediately to help enhance yourself creatively and establish financial independence in the music industry. But most importantly, like provide you with systems to organize yourself and sustain your practice. So let's just go over, let's just go over what we're going to be covering. So we've got comprehensive coverage of what we're going to be doing today and next time, which is going to give you like a toolkit with some resources that we're going to provide at the end of the second session. And it's going to be mostly just like links of apps and websites that I think will be of use for you guys, things that you should be on your radar, and tools to help you. We're going to learn about independent career management. I'm going to assume that all of you guys here are independent artists. So as an independent artist, you take on so many different roles and you wear so many different hats. So you have to be a manager as well. Like that's one of the things you have to do. So we're going to learn essential strategies to manage your music career without relying on anybody else. And that way, you keep 100% of everything that you do. And that will give you creative and financial control. So these skills can help maximize your artistic freedom and optimizing the streams of revenue that you're creating. Any questions so far? How does that sound to everybody? Ready?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Awesome. So let's get into it. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about why self-sufficiency matters. So the music industry presents so many challenges for independent artists, and it always has. Like it's kind of by design. The music industry, especially the three major labels, Sony, Universal, and Warner, are the main groups that kind of have monopolized the entire music industry, and it is their job. It is within their interest. Sorry,
Fuck Sony. Fuck Sony. Michael Jackson. Fuck Sony.
I feel that. I feel that. So yeah, sorry, as I was saying, is that like the whole industry for them is designed to capitalize off of other people's work, right? We are the artists, we are the ones who make the music. They have the power to push us out there, but they are not doing that for free. It comes at an expense, and that's your intellectual property, that's your art, that's your stuff. So that's part of why we're teaching this, right? Is because we want you to maintain ownership, know exactly the ways in which the industry works, so that way you're well informed when these type of opportunities or situations might arise. The benefits of taking a DIY approach, you get control, flexibility, and ownership of your intellectual property. When I say intellectual property, do you guys understand what that means? Just want to make sure that the terminology is clear. And if once again, as I said, if I'm talking too fast or there's something you don't understand, you can go ahead and stop me. But how do we feel about the concept of IP or intellectual property? Good? Don't be shy if you want to ask, but I'll take that as okay to keep going. Artist empowerment. So by acquiring this knowledge and accessing the right resources, you can build a sustainable career on your own terms without sacrificing artistic vision. Is there any artist that you guys can think of that comes to mind when I'm talking about this stuff, that maybe you look up to, that talks about being independent or has done these kind of counter industry moves in their mind? Go ahead, Asia.
I definitely have one, but rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Two really good examples. Those are really good examples.
Yeah.
Nemesis is a good one as well.
Rest in peace, XXX Tension.
XX, I think X was signed to a deal actually. I don't think X was completely independent, but his come up was definitely very underground.
He talked a lot about being independent. Maybe okay. Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. He was independent, but
no such thing as halfway crooks.
Sorry.
No such thing as halfway crooks. True.
Facts. The interesting thing about X though, X is an interesting case because yes, his come up was very much like on his own, and he did a lot. He was really smart in a lot of the way that he did things. But when he signed his deal, right, like unfortunately because of his passing, which was like unexpected. He got locked into this deal where they were actually able to like capitalize off his posthumous work, and his family didn't receive any of the royalties or any of that money because he was locked into like a 5-album deal, and they used like a bunch of old demos and like scraps of tracks just to like throw things together. Like they're probably stuff that he never would have wanted to release, but they, they just threw whoever wanted to hop on the feature. They just paid for like whatever features to blow up the track.
That's like Juice WRLD and Fortnite.
Juice WRLD was a similar thing as well. So like I said, this is the way the labels operate. They're just trying to recoup their investments, and all they care about is money. They don't care about things like artist families, their lives, or their deaths. But that's a whole another can of worms. We're doing our thing. The industry is gonna always be there, but we're gonna do our thing, right? But those are all really good examples. I'm not sure if someone had another one they were bringing up.
Was Chance the Rapper signed? Because I know he was unsigned for a while.
Yeah, Chance was unsigned for a really long time. I'm actually not too sure on the. I'm not sure on the details of his deal or anything like that. But I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think he signed like way later. Like when he made his first album was when he got signed. Which
What
was
about
like the Trash album. We all remember that one, right? The I Love My Wife album. Remember that? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was his first like deal. But I could be wrong. But until then, he was independent and he was making great music. I was a fan of Chance at that time. But that's a good one. And he talks about artist independence. Sorry, does anyone have another point?
Sorry, what's the song from that album?
What's the song
from
which album?
I Love My Wife. What's a popular song?
I don't think there was one, honestly. That album was like a massive flop. It was a really big fail.
Elias was like under radar.
There was like a 𝘗𝘂𝘵 feature on that one that I remember. But there was no single, there was no like hit and out of there for sure.
Okay.
It's called The Big Day. Yeah, the album was called The Big Day. It's like him holding a CD like this, and the whole thing is about how he loves his wife. And then they got divorced like 2 years later. Yeah. Russ is a great example. I'm glad you brought that up. That's someone who Russ.
No, we were talking about that.
Yeah, we were talking about different people. But so Russ, like, okay, I'm gonna be real, like, I'm not a fan of his music. Like, I don't really listen to Russ. But whenever he has something to talk about relating to the industry, like he's someone I always listen to because he's actually been able to do it independently, and he's been able to maintain an insane career. And he's been blackballed by so many of the majors, by so many different gatekeepers and like governing bodies of the industry, and has still maintained himself. So I would recommend reading his book, and I would recommend like watching almost any interview where he talks about how like for example, labels like boost streams artificially for artists on Spotify just for bragging rights and for Billboard awards and all this type of stuff. Like he talks about a lot of those intertwinings and things, and he doesn't hold back when it comes to revealing these type of secrets.
What's his name?
His book is It's All in Your Head, or I think it's called. Yeah, it's like a yellow cover. I think it's called It's All in Your Head, and it's like it's just game. Like the whole book is just game on like being an artist and being independent, and it's really, I really recommend it. There's some people in the chat. What about Russ? Is he signed? Yeah, Russ is independent. I know he's had distribution deals at different points of his career. Depends how you look at it, like a lot of people in the industry that are independent are not like 100% independent. But in a distribution deal, for example, you still own 100% of your masters in most deals. So I would still consider that to be, independent, because he's only getting those opportunities based on the leverage that he's created himself. Cool. So that was dope. Let's move on. Okay, distribution basics. Okay, before we start into this, I just want to ask if you guys know what is music distribution, and like if you have tracks distributed, you guys that are here. Is it out?
I think it's like when you distribute it on streaming platforms, as far as I know, and like I would say I don't, because I only have SoundCloud at this time.
Okay, dope. Yeah, so that's definitely, yeah, it's basically getting your music on platforms. Does anyone else have music on platforms in the group here?
Yeah, but not really like other than YouTube and SoundCloud. But I
Okay,
did
just
have
YouTube
some
and
stuff on
SoundCloud?
Spotify and other stuff, but I kind of took it down because I want to do a re-release and like release more stuff like consistently after that. But
So
um,
you're saying you
yeah.
used to have music on Spotify?
Yeah, so I had a membership with DistroKid for like 3 years, but
Okay.
I barely used it except for like the one single that I did put out on everything and like the video that I made with it. But then I like took it down recently except for the video on YouTube because it did have like okay views for like my first one, but
Right.
um yeah, I'm gonna re-release that song with like a bunch of new ones on all streaming platforms when I do a re-release instead of like just kind of leaving that from that long ago because it was a couple years ago. It was like almost 3 years ago now. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, you mentioned you use DistroKid as your distributor. Has anyone else used DistroKid or any other distributor?
I know about CD Baby too,
Yeah.
but I've heard mixed things about it. And then there's also like, what is it? Masters something? I
United
can't remember.
Masters. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
another
yeah,
popular
yeah.
one.
No, I haven't. I've heard that that can be good for like other reasons. And I know all the different distributors seem to have like different perks to them or whatever, but there's a newer one that I'm more interested in. It's not technically like an official distributor, so I know there can be like potentially some issues around that in terms of like sync opportunities or different things, but
Gotcha.
there's Project Noom, which is like a newer kind of distributor that started a few years ago, but they're integrated with the blockchain. So when you use them as a distributor, basically it can never get taken down. So you pay once, it's like $20 to register your stuff, and then it basically stays there because it's attached to the block like forever. So that's kind of cool, but it's also a newer like platform, and I'm not sure if I would necessarily put everything there, but I think I'd put like a select few
What did you
things
say
there.
that one was called? Sorry, I don't think I've heard of
Um,
it.
it's called Project Noom, like
Project Noon?
NEWM. I can like find a link and put it in the chat there.
NEWM.
Yeah.
Okay, sick. I'm gonna look into that. Very cool. See, we're all learning. I'm trying to see if I can get the audio out of the TV just so I can hear you a little bit better. Yeah. We could probably do it on the speaker too if we need to. Share computer sound. Oh yeah, it's here. Let's see. Can someone talk real quick?
Hello, hello. No.
No, it's not coming out. Okay. Anything? Maybe we'll use the speaker. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk a little bit about distribution with you guys. So yeah, distribution is exactly what we've been talking about. Getting your music out on all platforms, whether it be, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Deezer, Pandora, Tidal. We can go on for days. There's hundreds of platforms that exist in the world. Some of you guys also mentioned YouTube and SoundCloud. Those two still count. Like that's still technically like you're still distributing your music and you're actually doing it yourself at that point because it's like a self upload kind of situation. But when we're talking about like finding a music distributor, we're talking about finding like a third party that is gonna help you get your music out onto all of those platforms. Because, for example, Spotify, Apple Music, you can't just like make a profile and upload. You have to go through the back end and you have to like submit all of your metadata and all this type of stuff through a different way. What's the name of this? Thunderclip. Sorry guys, I'm just switching my audio here so I can hear everybody better when you guys have questions. Let's add a device.
Paired successfully.
Excellent. Okay. Okay, excellent. Great. So yeah, so SoundCloud and YouTube are good ways to distribute on your own, but you can obviously get a much bigger reach and reach a much wider audience with the other major platforms, right? Spotify being the most important. I don't know the exact stat right now, but I know for a fact that Spotify is very far in the lead in terms of the market share of music streaming in the world, which is a fancy way of saying people who listen to music will most likely use Spotify to listen to it in the world. And it's not even close. I think Apple Music is the second one, or YouTube, one of the two. And I think Spotify has like a 60 to 70% like market share. You can maybe correct me on that, but I know that it's really they have a really big lead there. So you don't want to miss out on getting your music on Spotify. It's really, really important because you're going to reach the most music listeners worldwide. As for the options, for distributing music, some of them are listed here on the slide: DistroKid, TuneCore, CD Baby, and Amuse. Just so you guys know, like the slides I prepared and the assets that I prepared are kind of like from an angle of like an industry perspective, but that's the important thing about these presentations is that I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about my own experience as well. Obviously, like I'm biased from my personal experience, but this is something that I want to let you guys know. So I prepared this sheet that goes into the details of a few more. So it gives you the name of the platform, the price that you're going to pay, because music distribution is not free, although it is for some, with some caveats, but this is something that I'm going to send a link actually to the chat that you guys can all open this and see it. And that way, for those of you that are interested in distribution, that are interested in learning more, whether you're going to switch distributors or start releasing music, this is something that you can refer to help make your choice. It lists all the pros and cons, the pricing and everything. So I'll just talk really briefly about the ones that I know about. So I was with DistroKid for a really long time. And at first it was really good for me because I think this is not the truth now, but at the time it was the easiest way to release music, to just get it out there at a low price. You'd pay like a yearly fee of, there it says $23. Back when I started, it was cheaper. It was like maybe like 15, 16 bucks. And you can release unlimited amount of music. So it was really, really fire in that case. Where I realized that they started to scam you a little bit is in the extra add-ons. So those are prices that you pay per release. So in addition to your yearly fee, and a lot of those add-ons are recurring yearly fees. So as you release more music, those fees start to stack up on you. Bandcamp is, we're going to talk about Bandcamp as well. Bandcamp is in a separate category as well, but I'm really glad you brought that up because it's instrumental to the DIY model. But going back to DistroKid, certain of the add-ons that you want to have that I used to get is something like YouTube content ID. So that means that you're getting royalties within the YouTube algorithm every time that your track gets played in a YouTube video. So YouTube algorithm is constantly scrubbing. Like for those of you that upload on YouTube and are familiar with YouTube, you know that like as soon as you upload a video with like a Kanye West song, like see you later, like your audio is gone. Sony or whoever owns that master is gonna take your audio down right away. You need to have the rights to all of your music. So if someone so the YouTube Content ID program allows you to get royalties for people using it in their video, and you can like approve them or not. Like that's a setting that you can approve. So that would cost extra with DistroKid. And the other one that's really important is like the Shazam. So you want to be able to get Shazam because if your music is music that gets played at the club, that gets played like at restaurants or anywhere, like even if you're performing it, you want people to be able to Shazam it and quickly find it. It's a really good tool for music listeners. Like everyone here, I'm sure, has used it. And that's another recurring fee with DistroKid. They're not like super expensive. I think the YouTube one is like $5 and then the other one is like $2. But like I said, once you release 10 tracks, that fee comes back every year and you're like, yo, why is my DistroKid bill so crazy? Like this is the thing. And other distributors offer that for free.
What's every song or just on your plan?
Per song per year. Yeah.
If your plan is like 22, that's every song that year is 22 plus 5 plus.
No. So the question is based on the DistroKid pricing model and how they how they tax you on those extras. So the yearly fee is just like a flat fee that you pay per year, $23. That's your subscription, right? The extras that you pay are per release. Like when you submit the release, you get the option to add more things. And some, not all of them, but most of them are reoccurring 1 year fees that get charged to you, not in addition to your like membership. It's just whenever you release that track. You know what I mean? So like, let's say my DistroKid thing is in February. Like I signed up in February and then I released a track in June. I'm gonna get charged my $23 again next February, and whatever extras I got on that June release are gonna come back the next June. So it'll be whatever, $23 and $7. So like, as I'm saying, you can see how that can be like a little bit weird when you're getting these unexpected fees and you're like, what the heck, DistroKid is taking money from me again? I'm getting paid like half a cent per stream. Like, what the hell? So yeah, so there's that. Now let's talk a little bit about what was another one I wanted to talk about? UnitedMasters. So someone brought up UnitedMasters. I think UnitedMasters has done a really good job of like their branding and their promotion. And like they initially started as like I guess like for Black creators and like for Black artists, like that was kind of like their platform. However, at this point, especially for artists that are starting out, I would not recommend them to use UnitedMasters, because I know a lot of people that have done it and like they want to support it. And UnitedMasters does give you a lot of cool things that other distributors don't give you, which I'm going to explain. But the main thing is the price. They're like one of the most expensive ones. So they have a free program, but the caveat with the free program is you give up a percentage of your royalties in order to be free. I believe it's 15 or 20%.
What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's fine. I honestly think that's fine. There's some other distributors that do that too, but they give you more in exchange for that 20%. Like you're getting more back, so you can see more analytics. Like UnitedMasters free plan is very limited. You can't do nothing. You can't pitch to editorials. You can't like get good customer service support, all this stuff. So they really push you to get onto their paid one, which is $60 a year. And I'm pretty sure that's like the most expensive one I have on this list. But I'll just talk about the pros for UnitedMasters. They have some really good partnership deals that you can get quick access to in regards to other distributors. For example, their sync placements. Does everyone know what sync placements are before we go on? So I'll quickly explain. Sync placements are anything that has to do with TV, film, commercials, and like video games, for example. So these are places where your music can be used like within another product. So like your song, for example, like let's think of a crazy sync placement, which is My Heart Will Go On, Celine Dion for the Titanic. Insane. That's like a high tier example of what sync can do, right? So UnitedMasters has certain partnerships with like video game companies. Like NBA 2K was like one of their biggest ones. They curate the playlist for NBA 2K every single year, and they get their artists on there, and the payouts for that are like really big.
And GTA too, right?
GTA as well, they have some, and I don't remember all of them, but they have like direct links that other people don't have, and it's cool. Even though there's a lot of competition though, right? You're gonna be up against more established artists and artists that are recognized and maybe have a different network, whatever. We don't have to go into that too crazy, but just no, you have to apply. They're like programs like within. What do you think about 𝘬𝘗𝘳? I am not familiar. Let me check this out. Is this like a sync library?
So that was sent to me by an artist manager in the States who manages like an artist as like a family friend or something, because he's retired. He's an older guy. He's
Okay.
like in his 70s or something, but he apparently, he made the recommendation to look at this website for anybody that was looking to get into sync. I guess it's a lot of more like agencies and kind of managers and stuff will, I guess, use that website for certain types of projects or whatever. But yeah, that and then also, well, no, Backstage is a good one too, but that's more for like voice acting, I think, or like roles for remote like content creation stuff for like makeup brands or things like that.
Right. Okay, that's cool. I can't say I'm like hold on. Sorry.
The thing about 𝘬𝘳𝘳 though, I think, is you might need to get like a membership or something for it, like to gain access. So yeah, I don't know if it's like really worth it if you're just trying to place 1 or 2 songs, but maybe if you had like a portfolio or something like that, then might be something to consider. I was just wondering if you guys have heard of it.
True, true. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm definitely gonna look into the 𝘰𝘂𝘓 one. So yeah, so they have cool brand deals and cool partnerships at UnitedMasters. And one thing that I really want to pick up UnitedMasters for, because I don't want to just slander them, because I do rate like what they represent. I do appreciate like the space that they opened up at the time that they came up in the like music distribution and independent artist thing. I would highly recommend everyone follow their Instagram, because they post like really good inspirational stuff about independent artists. They post like stories of like how people got things done. And I follow them from the beginning, and I support them, even though I don't necessarily agree with their business model necessarily, because I don't think it's the most accessible way for artists. But I respect what they're doing, and I think that it's worth a follow. UnitedMasters, that's right.
Is it just UnitedMasters?
Yeah, UnitedMasters. That's their app. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, so even here on the chart, you see like for the pros, emphasis on sync deals and brands, and then on the cons is cost more and you get less control of your back end, which is huge. Like you really need, that's like, I don't know, it's not something that you can really like cheap out on, I guess, in a way. And the last one I'll talk about is TuneCore. So TuneCore recently revamped their model, and I find it's a lot more affordable. It's like a good like cheap option that I would consider in addition to DistroKid. To get more like that's one of the cons it says here. To get more features, it's gonna cost a little bit extra. But that is like a year. Their things are yearly, so it's not like DistroKid where they're charging you one-offs randomly. You add things onto your yearly thing. So it's only $15 for full access of the year. I think that's very reasonably priced. Like that was a similar price to what I was paying for DistroKid before. And take it from me, DistroKid's customer service is garbage. Like they suck. They literally put you with a robot for a bit until they decide that it's a serious problem and requires a human, and then they'll give you another two weeks to wait for that. And that that can range with all types of problems. For me, it was artist mapping. You can find bad reviews of DistroKid everywhere, but for me it was artist mapping, which means like my song appears on another artist profile, or like my profile looks wrong, or all types of stuff. Like credits are all over the place. And that's kind of annoying, because when you release a track and you hype it up, you're promoting it on social media, you're telling, yo, my track comes out this day, and then people go and search you and they're like, yo, who's this guy? Like who it's just problems that are basic that you don't want to run into. And it's really annoying when their wait times to get that thing fixed is like 4 weeks to 6 weeks. Now I find that it's faster than it used to be, but it's still really, really annoying. Because it can really slow down your rollout, and it looks unclean and it looks unprofessional, and it feels bad. It honestly really does. So we don't like to deal with those things. But TuneCore, I've heard is good with those things. And I believe TuneCore, I'm not sure if I think it's 𝘂𝘵𝐵𝐵y actually. I'll talk really quickly about 𝘂𝘵𝐵𝐵y before we move on. One thing that is really cool about 𝘂𝘵𝐵𝐵y is that you can maintain all of your royalties. You don't give up anything. I don't think it's listed here, unfortunately. I'm gonna add it to this chart, but they have a model where you pay per release. So you can get all of the tools that you need, and you pay per year per release. And their album price, I believe, is like $20, something like that. And then their single is like maybe like $7 or $8. And so you maintain all that. You get a lot of back-end control. You get like I've heard that their distribution is clean. Like it's really good. So I that's one I would recommend, but I wouldn't recommend it for artists that are like very active, because like I said, you're paying per release, right? So if you're somebody that like maybe drops an album a year and that's it, and you're chilling like every year, that's maybe something you might want to do, or if it's a couple singles a year, that type of thing. But if you're someone that's like really trying to get the ball rolling, you're gonna want to like go with a yearly plan, maybe with like TuneCore or DistroKid. So that's something that I would recommend for you guys. So that was a lot of information. I feel like I talked quite a bit. Does anyone have any questions at all, or does anyone want to share any experiences that they've had with music distribution, if anything?
I've had that exact thing happen that you guys mentioned about like DistroKid, like miscrediting things or like putting it on somebody else's like profile or on YouTube. That's happened as well. Or no, it wasn't YouTube. It was DistroKid. It was because it got distributed in a way where something got mixed up, and it was just, yeah, a really big headache. Because they basically just don't care if you're not like a signed or like big artist, so they're not gonna, like you were talking about, they're not really gonna try to fix anything or like, so then that was also what brought me to the decision to just do a re-release with things, because I was like, well, they messed up this original release in the first place, so but yeah, it's good to see that there's like a lot of other options regardless, but seems like there's new things all the time, so just got to try to like make the best choice. But yeah.
Definitely. I literally, as you were talking, I just remembered the reason why CD Baby isn't on this list. And it's because CD Baby actually got bought out by DistroKid. So CD Baby doesn't exist anymore. So scratch everything I just said about CD Baby. That was relevant like maybe last year. But yeah, DistroKid has become a mogul because it's the number one way of people distributing independent music. It's the most popular way. And it's the same model. Like when we see all these businesses, they come in cheap so that they can rack up, a client base. And then once they're at the top, they're gonna come to charge. Yesterday's price is not today's price. So I would definitely say, while it is like a proven way and it's like a good starter point, explore other options and see what you can do. I know a lot of people, like Rax was saying, that like have issues with artist mapping, and they just get so tired of the DistroKid. They'll rip their music off there because DistroKid doesn't own shit. Like they don't own anything of yours. That is your music. That is your IP, your intellectual property. You take that, throw it into TuneCore, and let them handle it properly. And you'll see how nice it feels. It's like, wow, my song is on my profile. Like it's such a basic thing, but like you really, really need that. So yeah, I think. So you have a question?
Favor specific?
Distributors? Great question. So Bella asked, do distributors favor, or sorry, wait, was it? Oh yeah, do certain platforms favor certain distributors? The answer is yes and no. Here's why. Certain platforms have like better integration with distributors. For example, one of the good things about DistroKid is that they can get you an automatic verification on Spotify, so you'll get a little blue check, and you'll get an automatic verification on YouTube as well, you get the little music note next to your channel, so it's like an official artist channel. That's pretty cool, and that's something you can get instantly. So those are certain integrations that you have. Other distributors are. This is like not something that you can necessarily like. They won't advertise, but they have better like pitching favoritism. Sometimes like when you pitch the editorial playlist, let's say on Amazon, Apple, or Spotify, certain distributors can help you more. And also there are what are called like distribution labels or distribution deals, where this is separate from all the distributors we've been talking about, like DistroKid, TuneCore, CD Baby, Amuse, all these ones, completely separate from that. You guys can look up some of these companies. They work kind of like a record label, but not exactly, kind of like what we were talking about with Russ. So some of these, for example, the biggest ones in Canada are Symphonic, Foundation, and there's another one that I'm forgetting the name. But if you look up those two, I'm sure you'll find a couple of other ones. So these are distribution like labels that approach artists with deals. Just so you guys know, like the barrier for entry for these are like not that insane. Like I actually just got a distribution deal at the end of last year, and at my peak, I was at around like 10,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, which sounds like a crazy number, but I've been able to get to this point with with a couple of years, like 3-4 years. and yeah, the way like I'll be completely transparent with you guys, just so you know, like the way my deal works is I give up 20% of the master royalties, only the master royalties. I maintain ownership of the master 100%, and I still maintain all of the writing and like publishing, which we'll talk about the royalties very, very shortly. But in exchange for that, you know, they pitch my music for me. I can release like basically at any time that I want. I give them all my artwork and everything comes out super clean. And whenever I have issues with stuff, they will fix it in like a 24-hour basis. So that's like, you know, I'm fortunate to be in this position, but I just want to like show you guys that like this isn't the end. Like this, like, you know, you don't have to deal with DistroKid support like the rest of your life. Like there will be opportunities for you, and companies like Symphonic, like 𝘗𝘂𝘶 or not, Symphonic and Foundation, sorry, are actively looking for, what is this? ℏRDRV. Is that another one? I think I've heard of this one before.
I think it's, yeah, I just couldn't remember. I think that they do distribution, but I wasn't sure how it works. But I know they have other artist tools like beat libraries and sync stuff like that. But I think it's run by 𝘱𝘂 𝘱𝘁, I'm pretty sure.
I
But
think I've heard of this before. I've seen this before, but I don't know too much about it.
okay, true.
But
Yeah, me neither.
I have seen this. But yeah, this seems cool. Like they give you visuals and stuff. Yeah, it's super dope. Every distributor is going to offer you different things, and there are different ways that you can leverage your distributor, which is that is the main thing that I want to you guys to take away from this talk about distributors. Like when you pick which one you want to leverage it for all the tools that they offer you. Make sure that you're making the most, because this is, at the end of the day, this is something that you're paying for, right? So it's something that you definitely want to keep in mind. Any other questions up until this point? How are we feeling? Everyone's good? Okay, awesome. So now we're getting into a super exciting part. This is one of the parts I was really excited to talk about today, which is going to be music publishing and royalties. So does everybody know, like, do you guys know about publishing and royalties? Do you guys have any idea of like how things work? I just want to know where we're at for anyone here. Not too much.
Is this like ASCAP, BMI, SOCAN?
That's part of it. Yeah.
Stuff, making sure you're registered as both an artist and a publisher and that kind of stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, that's part of it for sure. That's part of it for sure. Okay, so I'm just gonna go straight into the explanation for you guys. So this is really important. This is something that I really want you guys to have a good grasp of coming out of today's session. So if you have any questions, some of this is not going to make sense and it's going to sound confusing, but once you get it, I hope that you like retain it. Okay. So I tried to organize this visually for you with 2 pie charts, because when a song is created, in Canada, okay, in Canada, the law is that at the moment of creation, that is when intellectual property or ownership is decided, right? So if I go to the studio and I make a song today, from the moment that song is made, that is my song, okay? That is my song that I own. Now, in the States, it doesn't work the same way. You have to register copyright, and they actually have a different, like they have a whole website dedicated to that. I can't remember the name right now. But because we're in Canada, we don't have to really discuss that. But I just want to let you guys know that in Canada, this is very important. This is very important because a lot of the times I've heard of artists, I've heard of people that get quote unquote scammed, but what they're really getting is intimidated by people who are studio managers, by people who are producers, or anybody that'll say, oh, like you can't release this song, or I own X amount of the song. Listen, if you didn't sign on paper and you didn't sell your rights away to anybody, you own the IP. That IP is yours from the moment of creation. That is the way the law works in Canada. So I want all of you guys to know that first and foremost. So now, when that song is created, there are 2 pie charts that pertain to ownership and the royalty payouts, like who gets paid, okay? So there's 2 the first one is the composition, which depending on who you ask is also referred to as the song or the work. What this pie chart really represents, so what this is accounting for, is the words and the melody of your song. So picture it in like technical terms. Like, has anyone here played an instrument, for example, where they had to read sheet music? That's essentially what you're describing. So to give you another analogy, let's talk about, because the other pie is the master. Okay, so that's the first one is the composition, and the second one is the master, or the sound recording is how it's referred to in a lot of like contracts. So the sound recording, so here's how I'd picture it. The first one, the composition, is like the book. It's like a book. It's every single word that's written in the book, and the way that it's written, every chapter, every single period, whoever plays certain words, whatever, that's how the pie chart of the composition goes down. Now the master is the movie. The master is the movie that gets made of the book. Okay, so that the movie is what gets played in theaters. People watch it at home. It's available on streaming services. That's different than the book. The book is like the book is like the blueprint. So that's what the composition is: the lyrics that you write and the beat that you make. That is what the composition means. So who owns the composition? This IP, like I mentioned, is created at the moment of creation. So usually, right, this is something that you decide with whoever you made the song with. Unless you're a one-stop shop of an artist that's a producer, engineer, writer, all of the above. This pie is split with whoever creates it. So usually, at least me personally, how I work, I'm very collaborative with my work, and I will split almost always even parts this pie chart. And that's what people call Nashville splits. The reason why they're called Nashville splits is because in Nashville, that is like the way that they write music. They'll fill a room with artists or writers, and people will write, and everyone gets an equal share of that track. So if there's 10 people in the room, all 10 people own part of that composition. Understand? So what does that mean though? If you're a producer, okay, and let's say there's two producers working on a song, and someone walks into the room. Let's say I don't know, it's my cousin walks into the session, and he says, hey, I don't like the way this snare sounds here. We're gonna move it over, and we're gonna change the drum pattern to this. My cousin who just walked in the room now just became a writer. He now has contributed to the composition of this song, and he now needs to be included in this pie chart. So how does that work though? This is something that people dispute later on when contracts aren't like signed and stuff like that, or people for moving one snare will fight for X percentage of the composition, when in reality, what they did was very little. And that's something that usually when you go into songwriting rooms, there are certain ones that are like, facilitated by labels where like you have to sign off before even going into the room. Like I'm gonna already get X percent. The role is already determined of what you're gonna do. Like you're gonna produce like this part of the beat. You're gonna make the melody. So and so is gonna make the drums, and then same thing for the writers. This writer is gonna establish the melody. The other one's gonna write the bars. So it gets divided that way. I think it's easiest if you just get the people in the room that you fuck with, and you just make it all collaborative, and everyone gets evens, and everything's blessed. Unfortunately, you will run into people who have an ego problem, who try to leverage their clout against you. Like, oh, I'm putting you on. I need 70%, whatever. I'm telling you this so that you know what it really is, right? But this pie chart needs to be like resolved. Like everyone needs to. We call them split sheets, basically, where all the percentages are accounted for. Everyone signs off. And there you go. That way you have it in writing. And then this is what you would, these like splits essentially is what you would then take into SOCAN. So we're going to talk a little bit about SOCAN in a second, but for those of you who know what I'm talking about. Now let's talk about where the money comes from out of this first pie chart. There's two ways. So first off is mechanical royalties and performance royalties. So I'm gonna just explain like the difference of the two. So mechanical royalties are earned when you're when your music is reproduced or distributed. So this pertains mostly to physical sales, which can be, for example, like Spotify. So every time your song gets played, it counts as like a sale. Technically, you know, even though they're paying us like fractions of a penny, but we're out here still. They qualify under mechanical royalties. Another thing that can qualify under mechanical royalties is physical sales of like CDs. Or it can also be like an iTunes sale. People buy a single on iTunes for like $1.29 or whatever it is. That's a mechanical royalty. So all of these get paid through the pie chart, and they get paid to all the percentages of the people who made this composition. Is that clear to everybody? Am I making sense? Dope. Next is performance royalties. So this is where SOCAN comes in. So this is generated when your music is performed or played publicly. One thing that I want to really iterate is that the word performance here is a little bit misleading. It's not necessarily when you hop on stage and sing. When your song gets played out loud anywhere, that's a performance, okay? And here's what's really important, right? Is we're gonna talk about this in the next pie chart, in the master pie chart. But you know, venues, bars, restaurants, these all these places actually pay a fee every single year to SOCAN, to PROs, in order to license the music that they're playing, right? Because the music is protected under law. Once the music, like I mentioned, once your song gets played out loud in the grocery store, that's a reproduction that qualifies for performance royalty. So this is something that you have to claim through SOCAN, and this is why being on SOCAN is so important, because you can collect from that. Okay, so that covers the composition part of the pie chart, or of the royalties, I guess. And this is also, sorry, I really forgot to mention this. This is what's called publishing. So remember how I used the book analogy before? That's a good way that you can remember it, is that whatever pertains to like the actual creation of the song in terms of the melody and like all of the like the blueprint, essentially the blueprint of what the song is, that is under publishing. That's money that's considered publishing. So when you hear people say like, oh, they're signing a publishing deal, they are basically taking an advance or giving up cuts from this side of the pie chart. Make sense? Okay. Does anyone have any questions about anything I said, or anything they want to clarify? Because I know that
when registering with somebody to get when it plays like in the grocery stores and stuff, what's that company called?
it's called SOCAN. So I'm gonna go over, like, as soon as I get through this slide, I'm gonna actually go into SOCAN and do a little bit of a demo with you guys for those of you who are not familiar. But SOCAN, so in the States there are two, it's ASCAP and BMI. Those are the two like collection agencies, and there might be a couple more, but in Canada it's called SOCAN, SOCAN. I have it right here, open up on the website, SOCAN.com. But we're gonna visit that later. So that's just so you guys know. In Canada, we use SOCAN. And just so you know, SOCAN doesn't only cover like the Canadian territory. SOCAN is registering your song as a Canadian because you're a Canadian artist, because the music was created in Canada. But they're gonna if they catch your track playing in a grocery store in Sweden, you best believe that they're gonna go and collect that money from you, because SOCAN also receives a cut, right? They receive it's not a massive cut, you know, but they receive something for doing that. So it's in their best interest to, like, they're incentivized to collect for artists, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question, Zach?
Yeah, it answers.
Dope. Anyone else have any other questions before I move on to the sound recording? That's a great question. So Bella just asked, is a sync placement a mechanical royalty, or sorry, a publishing royalty or a master royalty, right? That's what you're asking? Like, which pie chart does it correspond to? The answer is both. And that's something that I'm gonna reiterate as I move on to the master side. A lot of these royalties correspond to both. because in a lot of cases, you know, when you're playing the master, like what people hear is the master, right? But every time the master is played, the composition still forms part of that master. You understand? So both get paid out. Both of the royalties get paid out. But those two pie charts can be split up differently, if that makes sense. Because there's people who have a publishing deal or have, you know, multiple writers on the song or whatever, but the master could be owned by like one person. Or if you have a deal, like you could have given up your masters to your label, for example. So when sync happens, you know, when your song gets played, a lot of times sync agencies or like sync agents they'll get you in advance. So it'll be like, okay, your song is going to be in a Netflix show. We're going to pay you 10 grand to put it in our show. That qualifies for a master. That has to do with the master, that advance that they give you. Now, every single stream that show gets is calculated. Like I mentioned, SOCAN is watching at all times. So when, you know, they go stream, you know, the newest season of, I don't know, what are people watching right now? What are you watching right now? Bridgerton, sure. Your song got in Bridgerton, right? The next season's coming out. Everyone's gonna go watch it, right? Every time that comes out, every time that gets played, that's a mechanical royalty. That whoever wrote the track also is part of that performance, part of that reproduction that's on tablet, TV, wherever it's happening. So this is money that's gonna be continuously paid out. That's the cool thing about sync placements. And just sidebar, sync placements are probably the best way for independent artists to make money in Canada, because they give out big bags for you to get your song in a car commercial, McDonald's, Nike, movies, video games. They pay good for that, and that's money that has no strings attached. If you're not signed to a label, that's your money. You split it with whoever you made the track with. You know what I'm saying? And you're getting the residuals as well. You're getting the residuals, like you benefit from that show becoming popular as well. You're gonna want to promote that show. Yo, go watch that. For example, I have a friend who got their track in Power. You guys know the show Power? Mm-hmm. The 50 Cent show. He got his track played in that, and it was dope. He got a nice little advance, you know, that he split with the guy who made the beat, and then he's getting residuals from it in his SOCAN wallet every quarter as people listen and play and like whatever. So sync is really, really dope. Definitely look up for those opportunities. Okay, I think that was like a good. Did I answer your question, Belle? Cool. All right, now we're gonna move on to the sound recording, the master. So what differentiates this from the composition? This is everything pertaining to the actual recording of the song. This is the WAV file, if you will. First one is the sheet music. Second one is the WAV file. Okay. So master royalties. Master royalties are paid to the owner of a music recording when that recording is reproduced, including sync. So that to answer Bella's question, yes, master royalties are very important for sync. And you know how you like the master is usually property of the artist. Most times, like if you're independent, like that's your master. You don't have to give up rights to anybody, including producers. Like the producers, if you're an artist like me, if you're independent, when you're doing promotion, when you're shooting music videos, when you're going, making social content, doing shows, no one's paying out for that. You're self-funded. You're doing that yourself. So unless you know you have a rich uncle or you have someone who's willing to sponsor your video or whatever, you should keep 100% of that master. You know, like I don't know, if I got approached by a company that would be like, yo, we're gonna give you like an insane budget to do this video and we're gonna help push your song. You know what? I might not have the money to like pay for certain things. I might say, I'll give you a percentage of the master. I'll give you a quarter of the master, however much, to help us both. So I can get the benefit now, and if it blows up, that person will get paid back in the long run. So it's important that you understand how to leverage this for yourself and the ways that it can help you. But I always will say, keep your masters. I'm sure you guys might have seen like on social media and on YouTube, nightmare stories of artists' deals and how they've fallen out of their masters and they had #1 hits, back in the day, and now they're dead broke and they don't own shit. That's how it goes down. Ronnie brought up Tory Lanez. This is a great example. He was locked into a crazy deal for like what, 10 years, got out independent, and he started pumping out albums. And because he already leveraged his fame and his success, all of those were gonna be smashes guaranteed. And he made good money from it, So that's something to, and I believe part of his deal was that he reclaimed his masters from that time. So even though like maybe this is important too, is like even though those tracks are like old per se or whatever, a lot of them in his catalog are like still classics and people still bump them. So he has access to those residuals now for the rest of his life, unless he decides to sign them away for something else too. But yeah, that's the current situation. So that's pretty cool. What else do we have? Neighboring rights. So this is what we were talking about earlier. So neighboring rights are payments earned by owners of a master and performers when their recordings are played publicly or broadcast, for example, restaurants, bars, and venues. So this is exactly what I was mentioning before of how the master covers the neighboring rights of where the track gets played, and SOCAN has got you covered in that aspect. Then we have digital performance, which is Spotify. Once again, is basically streaming. So even though there's different names, you guys can see the crossovers of the different types of royalties that are allocated to both. But I just want to make sure that we're clear in the distinction here in terms of what each pie chart represents, and yeah, basically like who's entitled to those payments. Let me know if I made the separation like clear enough for you guys and you guys can understand that. How are we feeling about it? It's okay if like, just be honest, like don't be shy if even if the whole thing flew over your head, this is going to be given to you guys, like these exact notes, and you guys will have access to all of this, but don't be afraid to ask any questions now. Let me know how you guys feel, or even any comments.
Because if you're on YouTube, would a music video be the same as you have the lyric video up?
Yeah, it would be the same. It would be the same. So the question is on YouTube. The question is on YouTube, is the lyric video the same as the video? So actually, I just realized that's a really good question. That's really good because one thing that's interesting is that YouTube can kind of sneakily get away with some royalty payments because of their like AdSense program or whatever. So in order for you to get monetization on YouTube, you have to have like X amount of subscribers and watch hours. Like, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the YouTube platform, but you can't just like go viral and make money. You have to achieve certain like milestones and have certain level of consistency for YouTube to then make you a partner and let you make money off of your videos. So if you're just uploading your video, if you're just uploading a music video, unless you have a distributor to claim it or to distribute your video, that all of those views and all of those like streams are just gonna go straight into the YouTube bank. Like they will just take it all and you don't have to do nothing. However, when you distribute your music properly, maybe it's not a video, but I'm sure you guys have seen those like topic channels where it's just like the artwork that plays with the audio in the back. Those are always provided by a distributor, and those ones directly correlate back to your royalties. So I know, for example, when I was with DistroKid, I was directly making money off of YouTube music streams, which is pretty cool, I guess. But that's just something to keep into account. Like if you're posting your own content with your music on YouTube, you won't get paid for that unless you're part of the YouTube Partner Program, unfortunately. Anyone else have any other questions regarding publishing and royalties? Okay, nope. So I hope you guys understood that, because this is something I'm willing to take my extra time for you guys to learn. But for now, we'll move on. So I'll trust you guys. Okay. Now we're going to talk about how to actually do this stuff. How do you get access to this money? So you got to ensure your music is registered with performance rights organizations, which are, the acronym is PROs, and publishing administrators to collect your oath. So ours is called SOCAN. So you can see here at the bottom, it'll say like connect with the key organizations. SOCAN, ASCAP, BMI. And when you register with SOCAN, they like SOCAN also partners up with the American PROs. So you decide like which partner you want to go with. I would be lying if I knew the difference really. I think I just picked ASCAP. Just pick whatever you want. Like if you want, do your research, obviously, you know, look into both and see what the benefits are. But ultimately, SOCAN's going to be doing the heavy lifting. I think ASCAP is the biggest one, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that's just to help collect and distribute within your collaborators and be able to get all your royalties properly to the people that need to get paid. So yeah, taking these steps ensures that you don't leave any money on the table. Many independent artists miss out on significant income simply because they haven't registered the work. One thing I want to note as well, like you can register your track before you distribute it. Like your track might not be out, but like I mentioned before, at the moment of creation, you have an IP. You can register your song into SOCAN and say, oh, I made this song with so and so and so and so, and everyone's getting the X, Y, Z amount of splits. And you know, once the track comes out, SOCAN's going to be in there collecting, on the lookout for it, and collecting all the stuff. So that part of it is really dope. All right, so we have only about like 25 minutes. So I have a little break like associated to this because we're gonna have a couple of activities to end off to be a little bit more interactive. So I just wanted to check in on you guys, how you guys are feeling about all the information that's shared. Is this all new to you? Is this familiar? Any questions that you have until this point? And also, you know, any experience that you've had in your music career up to this point dealing with some of the things I've been talking about. So yeah, feel free to unmute yourself. We can chat for a couple of minutes before we move on. Anybody? It can even be unrelated. Do you have new music dropping? What are you guys excited about right now in your artist careers?
The info's been pretty good so far. There's definitely a lot of stuff that I am like newer to, or just things that I haven't really paid much attention to, honestly, but a lot of good highlights, I think, and some stuff that I'm familiar with, but definitely you know, good points made, I think, for like focus in terms of just having things organized on the back end before kind of, you know, putting your stuff out there too much. So yeah, it's been pretty good so far. Definitely excited to like start releasing more music. I've had so much music just sitting in my hard drive for like a couple years now, so it'll be good to get things, you know, sorted out fully. But yeah.
Yeah, that's super exciting. That's awesome. I'm glad. Yeah, I appreciate the feedback. One of the things that I'm also gonna show you guys in the second session is like a proper like administrative system for project management and keeping track of, like, for example, your files, so like your songs and like who was part of the song. Like, I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys in the past, but like I've made tracks and I'm like, yo, who made that beat again? I'm like, you know, and it's like, me personally, like I mentioned, I love to collaborate. I'm the last person that wants to like put out a track and like not credit someone properly. Like, I think that's super diss. Like, if people made it, they should receive credit. So credit your producers, yo. They do more than you think. And they're very underappreciated, I think, in the music industry, as well as engineers. So yeah, so I'm gonna show you guys like a proper like system to keep all those things organized, and that will help you, you know, when it's time to make the split sheets. Like, I've had like certain panel discussions and stuff where people talk about like best practices, whatever. They're like, oh, when you get to the studio and you get you get in the songwriting room, you know, make sure everyone signs off on this. Like, man, no one who's doing that. That's gonna kill the vibe of the studio session. No one wants to talk money before the track's even made. No one wants to talk about none of that. Because if I'm in the room, maybe I don't hop on this one track. You know, maybe I hop on the next one. Like, I don't need to make this agreement beforehand as opposed to later. But let's say you go out of that session, you come home, you have the 3 tracks or the 3 waves that the engineer sends you. You put them into your like it's like a little chart that I'm gonna show you guys. You put it into your chart, and that same day you say, so and so made this beat, so and so featured, and you have all their names there. So when 3 months later, when you decide, okay, I'm gonna drop this track, okay, who do I need to call to figure out this split sheet about how we're gonna figure out the split sheets, right? And that way you can get everyone's information and things are just more organized. Dope. Any more questions before we move on, Bella?
Maybe the question isn't at what point do you decide, but it's like, how do you decide? Is it person by person basis? Like, where do you spend the money? Do you spend the money on the beat or on the mix? Is it like worth it to spend on videos? Is it worth it to spend on photo shoots? Should you get someone to upload social media? Like, how do you decide your budget and like where to allocate what?
Got you. That's a really good question. I don't know if you guys heard it, but basically Bella was asking, like, as a self-funded artist, like, where do you prioritize your budget? Like, who do you want to pay? What stuff that you want to spend money on? I'm gonna give you my opinion. So take it with a grain of salt. I know that everybody's financial situation is completely different. I know that everyone comes from different places and different situations. So I gear my courses always to focus on like the lowest common denominator, to DIY it the best way you can. And before I say anything about what your priorities should be, I think the number one thing is building a team. Okay, build a team, build your skill set, and surround yourself with people that can give you value, who you give value to as well. For example, could be someone who does graphic design, could be someone who's a producer, could be someone who's a photographer, could be someone who's a filmmaker, could be someone who owns a bar or a club where you can get performances done. Find relationships with people that can help you out and build community. In the music industry, especially like in my experience, I've had people who, for example, like wanted to try to manage me, for example, or like were promoters that like promised me lots of type of stuff. Like, you run into shady people all the time, but as you interact, you find places where you feel like you can fit in, and that's the best way. Because even though I am definitely promoting, self-advocacy and like becoming self-sufficient yourself, the truth is, anyone in this industry who says that they're self-made is a liar, because you need a community and it takes a village to lift up, your vision. So that being said, for things that you want to spend money on that I think is important professionally, I would say production is super important. I'm fortunate to have like a couple of producers that are like my close friends. So like I get discounts when it comes to beats and stuff, and like we can cook up on like a cool basis or whatever. So to that, I would say, if you aren't in that situation, go to studios, pay for studio time at different places, lock in with producers that you don't know, and try to meet new people, see who you click with. And that way you can establish whether it's a payment plan, whether they're giving you deals for like an album or whatever it is. That's one way you can do it. And another thing that I think is very important is a mix engineer. So I think that it's very important that you pay for mixing, and mixing is not the most expensive thing, but it's important that you get someone who does it right. Like I would say, like for regular people, like you can pay anywhere from like $80 to $100 for like a final mix and master, and that will ensure that you're sounding at like a industry level quality for most people. Obviously, make sure you get references from people and like see their work before you work with them. But I think that that's a reasonable price for you to get your music finished. And once again, a lot of engineers are like super chill, and if like you lock in, like I know a ton of producers like, yo, do 3 mixes with me and I'll give you a 4th one for free. Or like, now that I know we're locking in and we're doing work, we can reduce the price, or like whatever kind of deals you have. Like I said, your network is your net worth. Like it really can expand like the boundaries of what you're doing. But it's also one thing I want to also reiterate is like, as an artist, you want to make sure that you're not just taking from people and you're also providing value. If your producer is like giving you a deal or whatever, that should be like a clue for you to like put money into your marketing to try to make that song blow up. Because if this person is putting their blood, sweat, and tears for free to help make you a beat, to help make you a dope track, you can take that money that you would have spent on the beat and put it into promotion. That way, that person can still eat off of your success, because like we mentioned before, your producer owns part of your pie chart when it comes to composition, right? So this is way that you can feed your team and everyone can buy into what it is that you're building. Later on, you know, as you progress in your career, things like music videos and stuff can be cool branding pieces, but they're also like a sinking expense, because music videos aren't something that you get a lot of return on. So you can spend like $1,000 or like a couple $1,000 to like make a like really high quality professional video, but that's not going to necessarily make you any money. So that's not me saying don't do videos. I just wanted you guys to be clear. When you see, you know, these rappers, whatever, people flexing, getting cars in their video, like, yo, they're just running up the cost, or running up a budget heavy, but they're not going to make that money back on streaming. Like they really, really won't. The benefit that branding the benefit that videos do have is that they can help you establish your brand. They're really good for branding, and they're really good portfolio pieces that you can show to people that are memorable, that can help, what's the word? Like exhibit your artistic vision, and can help people get familiar with like who you are as an artist. That's what I think videos are. Like I see them more as like artistic portfolio piece, as opposed to like a proper investment into your career. If you are trying to make money, I would say to invest into like do a lot of shows, like do a lot of shows, and like make sure your live performance, your live set is like really sharp and really, really tuned up, that you're giving good value and giving people a good time at your shows, because that's going to get you booked more, that's going to get you more ticket sales, and that's a great way to make money. And then you can eventually invest some of that into selling merch at your shows.
So in that way, like vocal coaching would be.
Yeah, something like vocal coaching, something like, you know, doing rehearsal time and like getting rehearsals done. Maybe like depending on your type of music, you get like dancers involved, you get choreography, you get set design. These are just things that I'm, you know, spitballing at you guys to have ideas of like the world that you want to create, that you want to live in. Excuse me. So yeah, so shows and merch is like a good way to make money. And this goes back to what we were saying earlier of like the whole point of like direct sales. Like the music industry used to be direct sales, and that's how people used to make money, when they used to sell CDs. Like Michael Jackson, Thriller, like people to this day still talk about how that was the most money ever generated ever in the history of the music industry. You can look it up. Drake can be great and all this stuff, but he didn't sell as much as Thriller. Like Thriller literally made the most money ever, and it hasn't been since then, because with the revolution. Okay, I'm going on a side tangent here, but like ever since the revolution of pirating music, which later streamed into the streaming era, the music industry has never bounced back to that. And the key to that was direct sales, was creating a fandom where people bought into this thing and they are willing to spend $20 for your CD. You know what I'm saying? They're not only willing, they're like fighting each other to go to the store to buy a poster, to buy CDs. This is very important. So if you can bring this to your audience on a low scale, you know, print some shirts, or make some lighters, or make a water bottle. Think about your audience, things that they do, the activities that they do. Think about an item that might be of value to them. I'm just spitballing ideas, but I think I covered that question, right? Like where to invest your money. Okay, yeah, those are just things for you guys to think about. Studio time is expensive, so that's the last thing I'll say. Save your money to become self-sufficient as an artist. I over the years like saved up my money to eventually get like a recording setup at my house. Now I don't have to pay for studio time ever. Basically, I could track completely out of my own home, and I know I'm lucky to do that. But like, just think about certain tools of gear that you can like put money aside every month to eventually work up towards. Also, Long and McQuaid, they have really cheap rental prices if you want to like, let's say you want to lock in on like this 1 weekend, or like you have a week off, March break, whatever, go rent for a week. You can get speakers for a week for like $15. Like that's like a super easy way. Like rent a mic, rent an interface, rent some speakers, and go crazy. Like make that week really, really worth it for you. Because even still, let's say that bill ends up being like, I don't know, $100 to $150 a week, right? But you get that's basically unlimited studio time for 7 days. Do the math of how much that would cost you if you went to the studio. that time is invaluable. So these are ways that you can be, like I'm saying, become self-sufficient, cut costs from different areas, and do it yourself. No problem. But going back to the point, do support local studios, go book some time, meet engineers and meet producers. There's value in that. Yeah, that's a great point, that you guys can book free studio time with the Paint to Power program. So yeah, those are just things to think about. Really quick, let's go into these two activities I have. We'll see what we can how far we get into them, but they're fairly simple. They're fairly simple. And they're interactive, so we can talk a little bit about branding. So what is branding? Why does it matter? So, you know, understanding why a consistent, authentic brand matters in today's music landscape is, you know, it's super important, super important. Can you guys tell me about an artist that you like their brand, like you like what they're doing? You know, you listen to their music, you see their social profiles, you watch their music videos, and you just get it. Like everything is like cohesive and it's fire. 𝘱𝘐𝘗, that's good. 𝘱𝘐𝘗 is a Brazilian artist. You guys might not know him. He has really like consistent visuals, and like it goes well with his music. It's like very like psychedelic, very modern. And he does like trap and like Brazilian funk amongst other things, and he experiments with other genres, and it's very like ethereal vibes. That's the one I would definitely urge you guys to check out. Is there anyone else that you guys think about? I'll say one. Tyler, the Creator. I think he's a genius. I think Tyler, the Creator is awesome. The way that every album has its own story, every album has a universe that he's asking you to step into, and he does a great job of world building with his visuals, with his outfits. I'm sure we all remember Igor when he was shaking that stupid wig on stage all the time, and it was crazy. Like people were going crazy, and the music was cool, and it was different, and it was like shock value, but also artistic. Like it wasn't like cringy, it wasn't like forced, like it wasn't Island Boys, it wasn't 6ix9ine, it was real and it was art. And I think that is dope. I think that's dope. Bad Bunny is another artist that's really cool, and I also think that he kind of creates a world in all of his albums, especially the latest ones where, like, you know, he's had access to like higher budget and has, you know, been more famous and stuff like that, where he's really created a world. And especially with his touring, it's like really everything is really so cohesive. Like this last album, I don't know how much you guys are into Latin music, but this last album was he incorporated a lot of like traditional rhythms from Puerto Rico, specifically where he's from, and he's trying to basically put Puerto Rico on the map. I'm not sure if you guys know, but Puerto Rico is under occupation by the United States, and they basically don't have the right to vote in the United States election, but they are governed by them, and they, you know, don't have a lot of the rights that Americans are afforded, and they're kind of like some kind of like weird like satellite state that is like in between, and they, you know, they don't have their own currency, they don't have their own government, but they're technically part of the United States. So this was an album that he dedicated to Puerto Rico, to, you know, Puerto Rican independence and liberation, amongst other things, and thus preserving some of their traditional sounds and rhythms, you know, from many generations past. And what I liked about the way that he designed it experientially was that he just announced his world tour, and he's not coming to North America. He said, fuck the US, and he said, fuck Canada. I'm not going there. And he's doing shows. He is doing a residency in Puerto Rico for like a whole year, I believe, where he's only performing in Puerto Rico. And this has brought a huge boom touristically, because fans of Bad Bunny worldwide are like, damn, I want to go to Puerto Rico. I want to watch Bad Bunny play in his home country. And what's that doing? Stimulating the economy, bringing foreign currency into Puerto Rico, helping you know, local economy boom. And it's an insane effect, which, and dare I say it, you know, people talk a lot about Drake, but I don't think he's done something like that for us. And
he just puts Caravan in the music videos for optics to make it seem like anyway a part of that conversation.
Totally. I'm seeing some messages here about some other artists. Andy Warhol is great. That's a great example. Yeah, Snotty Nose, dope. They're great. They're a great group. So yeah, those are great shouts as well. So yeah, just to wrap up the Bad Bunny point, I think it's a great way of him like integrating the message of his music with like the experience of how he wants it to be portrayed, while making like a really big statement politically that is having an impact, on his country. So big shouts out to him for that. So how can you communicate your brand? So you can create cohesive logos, color schemes, and photos that represent your musical style, and showcase your authenticity and your uniqueness, your personality, and also crafting a unique story or a narrative that connects with audiences and differentiates you. So for example, when we talk about a compelling narrative, like there are a lot of, for example, in rap, I think this is a big thing, like where the way I see it is like some rap acts are kind of like, it's kind of like WWE, they're like a persona. Like when they're a rapper, it's like one thing. Like who's someone I can think of like that? That's like a character. Like, okay, MF Doom, great example. MF Doom is a great example. This guy literally wears a mask. You know what I'm saying? And like his whole thing is like he's the rap supervillain. That's his whole aura. So when you listen to him, every track that you hear of him is like tied to that idea, right? So it's super, super cool. So that's the way, like, because I know rap talks about like realness, like rap is really big on realness, but rap is also really big on story, and it's really big on character. And MF Doom is a great example of that. Yeah. Keys and Crates label. Okay. Sick. Very cool. Okay, just reading the chat. Dope. So yeah, those are cool examples too. Like, and I guess we can go back to Tyler as well as how he creates characters. Like the Igor album was a character that he created. And there was another one too where he was like I forget what it's called. Like Sorry Don't Get Lost or something. Or he's like, I'll call you when I get home or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if you guys know Tyler's music. If you Call Me If You Get Lost, that's the one. Where he's like traveling and the whole thing is about he has this like suitcase and stuff. Like everything is a story. So this is something to think about as well in terms of where you want to position yourself in your brand. Like brand is all about positionality. It's all about where you want to place yourself in the music ecosystem and occupying the space that you belong in. That's true to you as well. Yeah. I totally feel that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Rax, no, but what's cool is that like the fact that you do all those different things are part of who you are as your artist identity. Like, I don't think you should neglect those things. A lot of times that we're scared of like, oh, I'm gonna get put in the box of this or that. I say like, don't put up boundaries for yourself. If that's who you are, find ways to incorporate that. Like, yeah, exactly. No, don't listen to those people that tell you have to pick. For example, when it comes to social media strategy, right? You paint, DJ, and sing. I'm going to give you one super, super easy example off top. You post a video of you creating a painting, but in the back is what's playing is a DJ set in which you actually incorporate a song that you sing on. That is a way where you are showcasing to the world on social media every facet of your artistry and who you are, all incorporated into one thing that is communicating like who you are. Like it's so clear. You know what I mean? Okay, dope. Yeah, I play around with it. Social media is the place to do trial and error, see how things do, and yeah, for sure. If you find ways to incorporate that, I know a lot of artists. Like, there's a lot of artists who do other things. Like, people love artists that like have hobbies and like do stuff. People who paint, people who do nails. I know I see so many artists that like do makeup and everything is like, get ready with me before my show, and they're doing all this stuff and their new singles playing in the back. Go pre-save, go this, or people who play sports. I've seen rappers that play ball and they make like a highlight tape and they're tracking it sick. Like we have a sick edit, like whatever. People who do merging the world. Yeah, merging the world together. Bring people into your universe, all of what makes you you. I've also seen people who do like outfits, who like showcase their outfits, get ready with me, like or outfit of the day or whatever it's called. People who are into fashion, barbers, cutting hair. Like, there are no limits to this, and the people who are telling you, who are trying to place limits on you, are small-minded. You're an artist, you're a visionary, you are big brain, so act like it. You know what I mean? And step into that. Okay, I talked way too much. But so the idea for this activity, okay, hold on. Here we go. Is to define your style. So I want you guys to I don't want to say like write a bio for yourself, but like how I would describe it is like a mission statement, is what I would say. So like make a mission statement for yourself. Here's what the things I want you to think about. What is your positionality in the music ecosystem? That can be where you are right now or manifesting where it is that you want to be. I want you to think about that. Think about your persona, like your artistic style. Think about visual elements. Think about colors, symbols, and aesthetics that will be aligned with your brand. And this is essentially how it is that you want to be perceived. That's important about branding, is how you want to be perceived. That's all what it is. And then yeah, well, it says share and discuss with another artist, but we can talk about this all together. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to write this down. It can be like 3 sentences, 2-3 sentences describing this. And also one last thing that I want you guys to keep in mind is also, who is your audience? Also, who is your audience? What is the voice that your audience expects from you? What's the voice that the audience expects from you? And you can think about other artists as well, like how they've done this in the past. Like I think Wu-Tang Clan has a very specific way of the way they speak to their fans. And everyone knows that vibe. Someone like, I don't know, what's another example of like a very like defined like artist voice that you can think of?
Lauryn Hill.
Yeah, Lauryn Hill, great example. That's another really, really good one. That's really good. Kanye, fuck,
Yeah.
how can we forget? Kanye for sure.
𝘗𝘰𝘸𝘬𝘴,
very dope as well. Kendrick, great example as well. Like when Kendrick drops those little weird posts, like you know what's gonna happen. You know what's coming. So everyone has their way. Everyone has their way. So what do you guys say we check in at 7:05? I'll give you guys 4 minutes to work on this exercise and come up with a couple sentences that represent you, that can serve as your mission statement. I want you to think of this as like something that you can hang somewhere, like in your studio, somewhere next to the mic, that you can look at, and it's going to remind you of like why you're doing this and who you are and like what the vision is. I'm just going to turn off my camera real quick to go to the bathroom, and I'll be back to check in on you guys. What's going on, everybody? How are we feeling? How are you feeling about this activity right now? You guys feel like you need a couple more minutes, or are we ready to share what we've got so far? Not all at once, guys.
I'm ready to go. I don't know.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna mute this music, and I'll let you start us off. Go for it.
Okay, so I'm a Caribbean, Italian, Canadian multidisciplinary artist based in Toronto. I create immersive experiences at the intersection of sound, storytelling, mysticism, and technology. My work speaks to curious, creative adults, especially BIPOC, LGBTQ+, and spiritually inclined communities who seek playful, healing spaces to explore their inner worlds. From herbalist inspired sound rituals to futuristic DJ sets, I offer soulful, transformative art that invites reconnection with the inner child. Whether in galleries, pop ups, or intimate workshops, my practice is designed for those craving meaningful expression and community through art.
Wow, that's really good. That's really fire. That was really, really good. I think I got a good glimpse of what you're doing based off that. So that's really, really good. Dope. Good job. Does someone else want to share? Yeah, it's just there. It's just
It might take a while. So if time's up, just go ahead. However, like if time's not up when it's complete, then yeah. So
go for it. Go for it. We got time. We got time.
okay. Respects.
Oh, you're saying like you needed a little bit more time to write it, you're saying? Got you. Okay, we can wait a couple more minutes.
It could take like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So like if everybody's done, everybody's trying to cut, no worry.
Okay, say no more. Yeah.
What were we supposed to write about, by the way?
So we're the activity we're doing is on the screen right now. So we were talking about like describing your musical style.
Oh, describe all that? Okay, cool. Thanks.
No problem. Okay, well, if you guys are still working on it, I'll leave you with this activity to complete. And also for Rax, like if you want to like sharpen yours up and like think of ways to change it up, like just keep it in your mind, like this is something that you should be thinking about, like I don't want to say all the time, but like it's kind of core to like who you are, like to what your identity is as an artist, and it should like this is something that should reflect in all of your work. So something that it's a work in process, and like I feel like for everybody, like if you were to do this to every artist like every year, they would say something different every year because people are fluid, and yeah, there's always growth, there's always changes. So this is something to always keep in mind. Okay, so thank you guys for participating. We're just gonna wrap up a little bit. So 3 key takeaways for today are going to be like the basics of distribution. So you guys have that chart that I sent you guys in the chat. I did send it in the chat, right? I think so. Yeah. Okay. So that chart is going to be really important for you when you're deciding on your distribution options and what it is that you want to do. We also covered the 2 pie charts that is basically how we understand royalties and the way that like music ownership like manifests itself, I guess, in the industry. And lastly, we talked a little bit about branding and your artist values and these things that make up the foundation of who you are, of your identity, and how you present yourself to other people, right? So in the coming sessions, we're going to talk about marketing strategies. So we're going to expand on some of the branding stuff that we spoke about today, as well as like some financial management. So we'll go more into SOCAN. We didn't have time to do that today. I was hoping we would get there, but we'll do like a proper demo about SOCAN. And also I want to it's not listed here, but I want to talk about like administrative systems that we want to implicate, like as I was telling you guys, for project management and managing your assets, having everything organized with credits, names of people, and all this type of stuff. So for preparation for next time, make sure, like, you know, read over if you were taking notes, like go over your notes, go over the slides, bring questions and any ideas for our next workshop, because, you know, we want this to be interactive. We want people to ask questions, jump in whenever. So I hope that we're able to build a bit of a foundation of knowledge about all the topics that we covered. I hope that you guys learned something new, and even if something was familiar to you, maybe like we were able to, you know, dust off certain things. And yeah, so in the next session, like, I already spoke about like the things that we're going to be covering, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you guys all for attending today. And if there's any other closing questions or comments, now's the time.
Just thanks for hosting this. This is cool.
Oh, yeah, no, my pleasure. Thank you. No, it's my pleasure, guys. Also, if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, my @ is 𝘗𝘰𝘸𝘬𝘚. I'll put it in the chat. And if you guys ever have like a question about anything that we've covered, I'm more than happy to like answer you. So yeah, just hit me up. We can connect and chat some more. If there's any like, if you're shy and you're like, yo, I was lost at those pie charts, like, can you explain that to me again? Like, I got you. Just we'll talk. So don't be shy. But seems like we've reached like the end of our session. I want to thank you guys once again all for coming. I hope you guys are coming away with something from today, and I hope that this helps like inform your projects and your artist practice. It's a pleasure as always. So peace and love to everybody watching this recording back, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys in a couple weeks. Dope. Thank you guys. Dope.
Okay, thank you, Esco. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. Okay. Thank you, Esco, so much. And to be honest, like this whole thing, like with him facilitating, is a testament to putting yourself out there. Because the reason that I knew that he would be so skilled to talk about this is because I have also been in one of his other workshops where he's sharing what he knows with the community. So thank you guys so much for engaging, staying, asking questions, dropping in the chat, participating in the activity. I know it's kind of short notice for some of you, but I'm gonna send an email when the next one is, so part 2. And then also I'm going to have him send me the slides for this one and add whatever resources that were dropped in the chat. So I know, Rax, that you had dropped, I think it was Irma. I made note of that. And if there's anything that you guys can think of, because this is a community, feel free to share. And then I will distribute it to everybody else. Yes. Okay, so thank you guys so much. I wish you guys were here. But we'll see you next time. Bye.